Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am going to do a review, a first impression, and a wear test of the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear. This foundation claims to be an oil-free, long-wearing liquid foundation that delivers buildable coverage and leaves a natural-looking, velvety matte finish up to 24 hours. This cost 60 Canadian dollars at Sephora, which is $8 more than my favorite long-wearing foundation, which is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. This foundation comes in 45 shades, and the shade that I'm using is 370 Bisque Warm. I think that I'm a shade lighter now because of the quarantine. I don't go out and I'm kind of pale. But when I put my concealer on and my highlighter on, everything worked out. So we'll test the coverage, whether it will cover the redness on the side of my nose and then my freckles. Of course my husband will go when I'm filming.
Hi. Hey.
Yes. So we'll see its coverage, whether it would cover the redness on the side of my nose, my discoloration on top of my cheeks, my freckles, and I have a few pimple marks here, and here. So I'll just put the foundation on the right side of my face. I'll put one pump first and I'll use my airbrush sponge. This kind of smells like the Makeup Forever foundation. This is just one pump, and of course my airbrush sponge is amazing, so it could really cover up your face. If you're interested in getting this, I'll just put a link down below. Do I like the coverage though? Do you think that this is a light or medium coverage with one pump? I think this is medium because you can really tell the difference. It already covered the redness on my nose and the redness on my cheeks. It's very matte. Like on the camera I can still pick up a glow here and here, but when I'm looking at my mirror, it actually looks really matte. So I'm gonna put one more pump. Actually, I just put the pump 3/4 downwards. I didn't push it all the way. I think that this oxidized because look at the shade now. The sun is playing me. It was very sunny when I was filming and now the sun is like hiding. Okay, I think this is oxidizing because the first time you put it on, it is a perfect match. Now it looks like it's warmer. Should I not put a concealer so we know if this doubles up as a concealer as well? Look at that, it's lighter, and then when I'm blending it, it will just turn warmer, darker, like a shade darker. So this is the side without the foundation and the side with the foundation. First impression, it really lays well on the skin. It's super easy to blend well, plus I'm using my airbrush sponge, which is really good when it comes to blending foundations. But this one you don't have to like really spread it. Once you put it on and like you bounce it, it feels very light on the skin. It feels like I'm wearing like a very thin foundation, but it really has a good coverage. So far I really like it. The only complaint that I would have, well, maybe because it's matte and it's supposed to last 24 hours, is that it lays flat on the skin. It doesn't give you that bouncy look. Usually with HD foundation, especially the Makeup Forever one, it will have like that light bouncing particles in it, so your face doesn't look too flat. It gives you that little glow so your pores are not too visible. But with this one, it just lays flat on your skin. I'm not saying that my pores are very obvious, but because it's flat, you can see the pores here on my cheeks because it doesn't bounce off the light. So I'm going to use a synthetic brush on the other side, just so we'll know if it's really blendable and how it is with other tools. Looks very thin on this side with just one pump because I'm using a brush. Usually with brush, it soaks up the product, unlike with the airbrush sponge, because this doesn't really soak up a lot of products. So this side looks thin with just one pump, so I'm just going to add one more. But when it comes to blendability, the blend's very easy, but since I'm using a different tool, it just looks thinner on this side. So I'll just add one full pump on the other side. Okay. I don't like because I use an airbrush sponge on my right side, this doesn't look as good as this. I'm gonna use my airbrush sponge just to blend everything out, just so they look the same. And I'm putting a little bit more because the brush didn't really, like, it ate up the product, so I'm gonna add more on my forehead. So this is my before, this is now my after. First impression. So first, I think that when it comes to blendability, it's super easy to blend this foundation. And second, it feels very light on the skin. You'll have super fast foundation routine if you use this. I keep on blending because I'm used to blending foundation half as fast as this, but it's like boom 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 and then you're done. Like, it will really give you that good coverage without having to blend too much. And with just one pump and using an airbrush sponge, I think that I already have that medium coverage. So far so good. It doesn't look like I put a lot of makeup on. It actually looks like powder than a liquid foundation. And with that, my con for this foundation is that it highlights my pores. And I didn't put any primer. I actually forgot to put primer. So far, my only con is that it highlights my pores. And that's usually what happens when you have a 24-hour long-lasting foundation. And because it's very matte, it doesn't bounce off your skin. It doesn't give you that glow. So it looks like very matte. When it comes to photography, the non-flash photography looks good. The flash photography does not have any flashback. And on natural light with my phone camera, it looks good. The only concern I have is that it is highlighting the texture on my face, especially on my cheeks. The big pores and texture there are being very highlighted when I use my phone camera. Now let's talk about wearability. On the third hour, I actually really like how this foundation looks. And I think that it's true to its claim when it says that it's going to be natural looking velvety matte. I love it because I can see the glow on my face on the third hour and it looks natural on my face. It doesn't look too powdery than the first time I put it on. On the 6th hour, I really think that I really put this foundation to the test because I didn't put a primer and I did not set my face. And we went to the park and I went biking. And side note, yesterday when I biked, I actually fell off my bike. Oh my god, it's so embarrassing. I was so red, but it doesn't show that much because I had my foundation on and it was very high coverage. But it was so embarrassing. Anyways, so we did biking for at least half an hour, and then when we got home, it's actually past 9, so it's more than 6 hours. My foundation still really looks great. The only thing that I've noticed is that my foundation around my cheeks move, and that's because I was touching my face, so it moved. And I also don't have any foundation on the side of my nose, which usually happens even with other foundations. That's just my thing. That's the only concern I have on the 6th hour. On the 9th hour, I did not do any retouch. I just kept everything as is. So the foundation that moved on the side of my cheeks, I just didn't touch. And nothing is actually different from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. That's only my concern. The side of my cheeks, the foundation moved, and I think that's also because I didn't set this with the powder. So if you are planning to use this foundation for a long period of time, don't forget your primer and don't forget to set this with a powder. And I did not test this for 24 hours. I might today, and I'm just going to tell you the details on the description box below to have an update with its 24-hour wearability. So here are my pros and cons about this foundation. First is that it's very light on the face, and when you put it on, it immediately sets without being cakey, so I love that about it. Second is that it looks very natural on the face, especially when you let it set for a few hours. Third is that it's a very good base for all the products that you'll be putting on top of your face, like your concealer, your blush, your contour, everything just really blends well on top of this foundation. Fourth is a small amount of this foundation can really go a long way. Like one pump can actually already give you a medium coverage, but it also really helps when you're using an airbrush sponge. And shameless plug, but I really love this sponge, so if you want to get one, I'll be putting the link down below. It's from my line, alldollupcosmetics.com. And 2 pumps can give you that full coverage that you need. Another pro is that it doesn't have a strong scent, and when it's set on your face, you wouldn't even smell anything. There are some foundations that even after setting it, you can still smell the scent. I wouldn't say that this is 100% scent free, but it doesn't have a strong scent and it will just disappear after a few minutes. And it's also photo friendly. Just make sure that when it comes to your textured skin, you just put a pore minimizing primer. And the last pro, which is the most important thing about this foundation and what it's claiming, it's very long wearing. Even if I didn't set it and I didn't put a finishing spray, it actually really stayed well on my skin. Yes, the foundation moved, but that's because I physically touch my face. And I think even the most expensive foundation, if you touch your face and you wipe some of it off, of course it will wipe off. That's the only thing that happened on the wearability test, which is the movement of the foundation. Now for the cons. I only have 2 cons, which is actually connected. It highlights the texture on my face. It highlights my pores, so I really need to make sure that I put a pore minimizing primer. Today I use a pore minimizing primer. I'm actually going to take a photo on my phone and let's see if this one is better now that I have the pore minimizing primer. Okay, yes, it's so much better when I put the pore minimizing primer and I set it with a powder. And my last con is that I can't recommend this to all skin types. I have to skip on people with dry skin, because if you have dry skin, I just feel like this foundation will just cling onto those dry patches. So I wouldn't recommend this to people with dry skin. On to my final thoughts. I am going to rate this foundation 4 out of 5. And you already know why I took 1 star or 1 point. It's because it accentuated my texture and the pores on my cheek. And that's the only reason. And I would recommend this to people with normal to oily skin, especially if you don't have a lot of texture on your skin. I would also recommend this foundation for people looking for a long wearing foundation. And usually when you're looking for a long wearing foundation, that is because you want to use this for a special occasion, like attending a party, attending weddings, attending things that will require you to have less of a touch-up, and for events that will require you to have selfies and take photos of yourself with other people. So just again, make sure that if you want to look good on photos, on camera, just make sure to use a good primer and set this with a powder. I would actually recommend using this with this Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin. This is also very long wearing, and I find that this one really hides my pores. So if your main problem is your cheeks, just use this on your cheeks to hide those pores. And I think this and this would really be like a power couple. I think for 24 hours, really, your foundation would stay. If you're using the Lancome foundation for a special event, keep this one. So when you need to touch up, just use this foundation for touch up. And although I got a darker shade foundation, I got the 370 Bisque Warm, I think I'm gonna keep this still because after putting highlighter and concealer, it actually really worked out. But I don't think you'll have a problem finding your shade as long as you go to the store. Of course, after this pandemic is over, just go to the store and make sure you test it out, because they have 45 shades to choose from. So I don't think you'll have any problem when it comes to finding your true shade. On my next foundation review, I'll be reviewing this foundation again versus my go-to when it comes to long wearing foundation, which is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. So make sure you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll always be updated when that new video comes up. Meanwhile, you can check my playlist for foundation reviews for drugstore and high-end foundations. And if you have foundation review requests, just comment down below. Thank you so much, dolls, for watching, and I'll see you on my next one. Keep safe, everyone. Mwah.